Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Now, with the fear of missing out still happening around the country and with toxicity levels at all-time highs in the housing market, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about what properties that I believe people shouldn't be purchasing. And there are 6 of them. Now, I want you guys to understand that this is just my experience at dealing with these types of properties. Obviously, there's always unique situations and special circumstances that can kind of be an outlier to the general reasons why buying these types of properties are bad. But I do want you guys to understand that my experience is 22 years. I think it may be even more than that in real estate. So I have seen and I have been through many things, you guys. I've probably helped over 1,000 people purchase a home in some aspect. Now, the number one property is a condominium. And you guys may be thinking, what do you mean condominiums? What do you mean condominiums? And I get it, you guys, I get it. But what I'm doing is comparing these types of properties to a normal 10-year-old single-family residence. Some of the disadvantages of purchasing a condo, well, the obvious first one is you essentially normally you get no property. Maybe you get a balcony where some people can go off to smoke a cigarette, but you don't get any property. Whereas if you purchase single family residences, depending on the area, right? Not downtown New York, but depending on the area, you guys get property. So the first thing, and again, it should be the most important thing, is the property. And a lot of people say it's the land that's of value. It's not the actual dwelling. So just be aware of that, guys. You're generally not going to get any land if you purchase a condo. Now, as a result of getting no land, it brings me to the second thing on condos, which is you're going to be elbow to elbow with your neighbors. And that may not sound like a bad thing. But if you ever have any issues with your neighbors, it can be a massive problem because generally when you purchase a condo, you have neighbors to your left and neighbors to your right. And depending on the metro area, you may have neighbors above you and below you. So you have multiple neighbors that you got to hope that you don't have any issues with. The problem with having issues with your neighbors is generally the issues and the neighbors never go away. Now, the third thing with condos is generally you have to share the common areas. So you really don't get any privacy when you leave your door because the land and the property that you're walking on generally belongs to every single owner of that condo association. Now that could be a big deal, especially if the property next to your condo is shared property and say you want to plant some flowers or whatever, the condo neighborhood kids can go in and pick all those flowers and throw them away and you can't do anything about it because the common area is generally shared. Now, the fourth thing may actually be the worst thing. Generally, when you purchase a condominium, the monthly dues are much higher than normal. There are some condo associations where the monthly payment, the maintenance fee, is higher than the actual mortgage payment, property taxes, and insurance. So it can be quite expensive to purchase a condo, even though the price may sound low and may seem low. When you add the actual monthly dues, it can be a much higher expense. In addition to these higher expenses, it's also more difficult to get financing for condos, specifically with FHA financing. If you're going to do an FHA loan and purchase a condo, that condominium association actually has to be approved through FHA. And a lot of those condo associations are not approved through FHA. So one of the first things you should do if you're interested in purchasing a condo and you're getting an FHA loan is definitely contact your loan officer and have them do something called an FHA condo certification. That condo cert is vital and it's vital to do up front, but regardless, it is harder to get condos financed. Now, the last thing is the restrictions of the HOA. Now, there are single family residences and townhouses that also have HOAs, but generally the condo HOAs are much more aggressive and much worse. I've heard several stories of condo association owners being sued by the condo association. I've seen these things go down in court. And a lot of times what happens is things that are like not fair. Now, you may think something's not fair that the condo association does to you, but if it's listed in the CC&Rs, the codes, covenants, and rules, you may have to take the condo association to court yourself to have them repair any damages done to your external unit. Because generally, remember, the association covers the external part of the condo, and generally you're required required to cover the internal part. So the story that I heard in court was a condo association had to remove a beehive that was outside of a building. In order to remove the beehive, they actually had to make a hole in the outside of the building. So they ended up removing the beehive, they made the damage, but they didn't repair the hole. So the property owner actually took them to court and presented their case, and the judge ruled in favor, thank goodness in this case, in favor of the homeowner, and looked at the condo association manager and said, you need to change your CC&Rs because it's not legal. You made the damage, so you have to pay for it. And so they lost, but my point is they had to go through a lot just to get the HOA to do what, in my opinion, was fair. Now, moving on to the second property, do not buy a prefab house from Amazon. The first reason why, guys, is it appears that a small gust of wind can knock this thing over. So it sounds great, like you can buy some vacant land somewhere and then just throw 10 of these Amazon fold-out homes on that plot of land. But my question is what happens when there's a gust of wind and that thing comes collapsing down on someone? In order to give you guys kind of an idea of how rickety these things look, let me show you a video of someone installing one. Okay, so here it is right here. This thing is made of plastic. I want to let you guys know that first of all. And another thing, as they're putting this thing together, remember, if you buy this thing, you still got to do a septic tank. You got to still do electricity. It sells for about $25,000. They're wrenching that thing down. But my concern is, again, it folds into itself. And look at the lack of foundation. The foundation is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 metal legs. So what happens if there's an earthquake, wind? Anything happens. What happens if it's next to a beach and it starts getting corroded by ocean air? This thing may sound good, but again, personally, I don't think the technology is there to where I can trust something like that and then say, for example, go rent it out to someone. Or even I personally, again, I don't feel comfortable in having a roof over my head that can collapse on itself. I don't even know how that's legal. I mean, where are the safety standards there? And on top of that, you guys, there's probably absolutely no resale value to those fold out cardboard boxes. I mean, that was like a cereal box, what we just saw, but it's made of plastic. So for the safety reasons, the fact that it's new technology, the fact that it doesn't have probably any resale value, there's no way that I'm purchasing an Amazon fold out box home. Property number 3, and this one's hard for me because I grew up in a manufactured house on land that I had to rent called chattel. So most manufactured homes, at least in California, are private property. Now, although I had great childhood time there, my mother was a single mother. We lived in basically a single wide mobile home. Home is where the heart is. As far as resale value, the resale value for these manufactured homes in these rental parks is absolute garbage. Now, on top of that, it's extremely difficult to get financing for a manufactured home to begin with. But a manufactured home in a rental park is even more difficult to obtain. Now, another big thing is the fact that a new owner can come in and jack up all the rents on you, and you will have to move your manufactured home. And the cost involved to move a manufactured home, you guys, is insane. You can't just pick it up and move it. And this happens a lot in California, specifically around beach areas where, I've seen multiple areas where there was an elderly community, someone bought the land and they jacked the rent up on those people double because they want the people to move out of the park so they can build high-rise condos. You guys, this happens all the time. And so you have no control over the land that it actually sits on. Now, on top of basically having no control over the livelihood of your investment, of your home, on top of that, you guys, the fees are astronomical. You may be able to purchase a manufactured home for $50,000, have your mortgage payment be $500, but your space rent can be $1,000 a month. Generally, the fees for manufactured home parks are way more than even condos. And so those are some of the reasons why it's such a horrible, horrible investment. But another thing, guys, and I don't know why this is, I don't understand the science, but manufactured homes attract tornadoes. I don't know why, but tornadoes are always hitting those manufactured parks. Am I wrong? Just to show you guys some headlines of the people that are getting kicked out, look at the name of this headline. New laws backfire as tenants at Almont Mobile Home Park are forced to leave. Mobile home park tenants fear new ownership will force residents out. And so that's what I mean. Someone could purchase that mobile home park and kick you out over a period of time by jacking up the rent, again, because they want to profit off of the land. The land is the value. And so the fact that you don't even own the land, that you're leasing the land, that's just not a good investment. in my opinion. Property number 4, and you may think this is a joke, but it's not a joke. There are literally people that are doing this. It is a houseboat. Now, before I continue, just so you know I'm serious, let me play you quickly this video. Okay, so this is this lady's houseboat, and she's talking about how
I've very recently redone my bedroom, so I'd be interested to hear if you like it before or after. This is the bow of the boat, and I used to have these beautiful hand-painted boxes on the front, which unfortunately very recently succumbed to the weather. But I am going to redo that pattern somewhere because I miss those boxes so much. So this is the main living space as you come in. There's my little book nook. My boat is a standard layout, which means that this main living space.
one wave is going to knock all that apart. Now, there's a few reasons why I don't think owning a houseboat's a great idea. The first one is obviously the financing is very difficult to get, and also it depreciates. So you're probably going to lose money on that investment. But on top of that, guys, understand that if you're going to full-time live on a houseboat, that you're dealing with sewage, electricity, gas, on water. If anything happens, you could be literally dead in the water. In fact, it's happened to me. I've been on houseboats numerous times that have broken down. It can be incredibly dangerous because your home moves on water. So again, not only is the resale value horrible, financing is horrible. The maintenance is absolutely brutal. It's just like a boat. Most people understand that if you purchase a boat, it's a horrible investment. The same thing stands for houseboats. The maintenance is incredibly brutal. You have engines that are constantly being packed with water and mud and dirt and grime and all of these types of things. So it costs a tremendous amount of money just to maintain the boat, not counting the cost of the slip. And most people have to have a slip because it's the slips that they can run the power off. So they probably have a generator that costs gas, but when they have a slip, they can usually plug in and clear their sewage. I live in Texas. We have extreme weather here, but when I was actively on houseboats at Lake Mead, Lake Mead, Nevada, next to Vegas, dude, there'd be storms that come in all the time that would break the houseboats loose. We would have them tied up on the shore, and storm would come in like a thunderstorm, lightning storm would blow, crazy wind, and those lines would break loose. There were a couple times we had to wake up at 2 a.m. because our houseboat was floating in the middle of the lake aimed at rocks. So it's not for the faint of heart. Property number 5, flood homes. Now, I live in Houston, Texas, and I was in Hurricane Harvey. I helped pull out 88 people. So I know what happens when water hits those houses. Now, the biggest concern I have about flood houses is what's behind the walls. Did they repair and gut the property correctly? Is there still mold? Is there still mildew? The potential health risk may not be worth it. Now, the second thing, guys, this might be the biggest thing, your insurance costs. Now that that home has flooded, or if it has flooded in the past, your insurance costs are going to skyrocket. And that means that any new owner of that property is going to have to pay an increased liability. For example, some of the houses that flooded here in Houston, they're under market value per se. But when you add the monthly cost of flood insurance, that could be an extra $300 to $400 on your mortgage payment. And so I'm like, why not just buy a bigger house for $200 more a month? You have a bigger house, not in a flood area, and your payment's lower. Paying $400 a month for flood insurance is a make or break deal for so many Americans. And that doesn't go away. It just gets more and more expensive. And so because of that, the resale value and the ability to sell those houses goes down substantially. No one wants to purchase a flood house, and you have to disclose it. Even if you don't disclose it, they're going to find out it's a flood house. And another thing, y'all, normally those areas and those houses are prone to flooding. So that's probably an issue you're going to have in the future. So if you want to deal with flooded houses, you want to purchase a flooded house, more than likely it's going to flood again if there's any type of weather event. So I stay away from flood houses. Again, harder to qualify for, harder to get financing for, super high insurance, potential future flooding, and potential health risks. And to put this in perspective, guys, look at what FEMA is doing. I'm just going to read this one paragraph. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, has spent around $4 billion assisting in the purchase, not helping people fix, but purchasing about 45,000 to 50,000 damaged homes since 1989. Now, the reason they're doing that is again, it's just not worth it. Health issues, and a lot of people can't even fix those properties up. Some of those people, y'all, they never even had flood insurance. So it was a complete loss. And so understand that some properties that flood are not in a flood zone. Again, that happened in Hurricane Harvey. A lot of those people that got wiped out were not in a flood zone. That's the thing with water, you guys. There's no barriers. That stuff can go everywhere. So if it's me again, I'm staying as far away as possible from flood zones. Now, the last type of property that I would not purchase is old homes that are flips. The reason, guys, is if you purchase a flipped house, especially if it's old, my biggest concern is that the new owner does not have to complete seller's disclosures, at least in Texas. And what that looks like is here, you guys. The seller's disclosures are designed to show the new buyer essentially what's wrong, if anything, with the property. And because flippers generally don't have to fill this out, they're now able to hide defects, even potentially structural defects behind the walls. So again, anytime I go into a flip home, I hate it because I can't see the bones of the house. And I always worry like, okay, what was behind that? Did you guys just throw something up there and cover it up like a lipstick on pig? Or did you actually do quality work? And on top of that, guys, is normally when you purchase a flip home, it's sold to you at a premium, meaning you generally purchase flip homes and have no equity. And it takes generally longer to get that equity. But does it have new paint? Does it have crown molding? Yeah, potentially. But does it have lead pipes? Old pipes are a huge thing in these old homes. Does it have a new roof? Is the foundation okay? Is the AC okay? There's so many things that can go wrong with old properties. It's ridiculous, especially if they're older than 1990 and have never been renovated except when there's that new owner. Again, you guys, this happens all the time, and it's our job to do inspections to make sure that that doesn't happen. But again, when they're replacing bad things and they're covering it up with paint and with carpet, there's a lot of times where we can't figure out whether or not there's anything wrong with the house. And so it becomes dangerous. Now, other than that, that's going to end this video. Do me a favor. Let me know if I missed anything in the comment section. Let me know whether or not you agree with some of the points that I made. And if you guys learned anything, hit me a like, shoot me a bonkers. Let me know what you learned. And other than that, if you're out there investing in real estate, you guys already know I wish you luck, and I hope you win.